Hello, and welcome to Rolling Out Sisters with Superpowers. My name is Portia Monique, and today I'll be your host. And we're speaking with the lovely, intelligent Demetria Kinsley. She is the Global Vice President of Marketing at Cantu Beauty. Welcome to the show, Demetria.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is super exciting. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, it's an absolute pleasure. I was so excited to do your interview as well. I was reading your bio and I said, this lady has it all, right? She has the beauty, she has the intelligence, she has the career. So I was super excited to speak to you today. And let's just go ahead and dive right in. If you will, please share with our audience what it is that you do at Cantu Beauty as the Global Vice President of Marketing, and what are your responsibilities?
So sure, I have been with Cantu for 10 years next year. Don't tell anyone. I started at 12.
Yeah, because you,
exactly.
baby. Yes, you look 12 now.
But I lead all marketing, head of all marketing globally. So the brand is distributed obviously here in the US, but we also have distribution in Africa, Europe, United Kingdom, South America, Mexico, Canada. We're all over. So it's been quite the journey over the last almost decade on this ride with this brand. I also head up diversity, equity, and inclusion for PDC Brands, which is the holding company that owns Cantu, that I've been at since they acquired the brand in 2016. So yes, it's been a fun ride. Actually, okay, scrap that. It was 2015. Brittany, can you take that out? And I just re-say that. And it was 2015 when they acquired the brand. So
okay. Perfect. And so you said you've been at the brand for 10 years. Where did you start? And then how did you work your way up to becoming the Global Vice President of Marketing?
Yeah, so great question. I started as a brand manager. I had a background in media and entertainment. I worked at HBO for about 7 years. And then I decided, let me go get this thing called an MBA. And I found out in the world of entertainment, they're like, MBA, it's not necessarily. And I'm like, I went to school, let's leverage it. And so they gave us two options basically in marketing. You can go brand or you can go consulting. And I thought this brand thing is super cool. And one area I'm super passionate about is the emotive connection of marketing. And when you work in entertainment, like you watch a movie, you watch a film, you watch a series, and you step out inspired, you may step out like really taken aback. Like there's all these things that happen when you watch a film. It's the same thing that happens in beauty. You do your hair a certain way, or you have a certain lipstick, or you have a certain just makeup, and you feel a little bit different about yourself. And it's this great platform to be a part of because you have an opportunity to impact the consumer inside and out. So wanted to move into an area like that. So I was at Newell, and they own the Goody brand, and I worked in accessories there. And then I came over, I joke, the other aisle in Walmart and Target and Walgreens, and came to Cantu. And we have grown, and I appreciate all the support from our consumers and our advocates that have gotten to us to where we are today.
Yeah. Cantu makes some great products. I have some on my bathroom counter that I use on a regular. So yeah, thank you guys for putting out those good products for us to use on a daily. Now I want to just kind of pivot to you coming to work and showing up every day, right? So what inspires you to show up at work every day, especially amidst a global pandemic?
Right. It's the people. It's the people on the other end who we are impacting every day with our products. It's the people that I work with internally. It's the people that are around the world doing their absolute best to be an advocate and for these brands and push the brand in their respective countries. It is truly the people, but inside and outside, that inspire me to do what I do every day. At the end of the day, it comes down to that. And so just seeing, just the excitement and the passion and the growth, even in the midst of everything going on in our environment, it continues to drive not just me, but my whole team to keep pushing.
Are you guys back in the office yet, or are you still working remote?
No, we're still working remote around the world. Still until to be determined. So yes, which has been another different challenge for certain groups, but actually with Cantu has been a special case. Before everyone else was remote, we've had a remote team in different locations, and so we've been working remote for years now. So it's worked out. We used to see each other quite a bit because Cantu is pretty active in the community. And so we would see each other at events or product launches, or we'd have meetings. And so definitely have missed some of that. But hopefully, let's all cross our fingers, we can get back to that later on this year.
Okay. We're going to cross our fingers with that. So knowing that you guys are not back in the office yet, and sometimes it's hard to kind of build that team rapport, especially with new people, how do you keep your team inspired?
So we have a lot of connections with our agency partners to what's going on in the culture, what's going on within our community. And so it's that constant curiosity of like, how can we do better? How can what other things can we shift, or what is our consumer saying? And that takes all of the team to be engaged, to be able to know and what's going on and be able to shift. And I think it's a good thing. And then sometimes it can be like, well, what are we doing? Is that you're in constant movement, right? So there's never a time where you can just relax, take your foot off the gas and sit back and ride. It's a constant like, go, let's figure it out. Okay, do we need to move? Like, and so I think by default, it keeps everybody super tapped in to what we're doing, because they just can't go on autopilot. You constantly, okay, how did that work? Did we learn anything? Do we need to shift? Are you hearing anything different? What are the consumers saying? What's the change in the hairstyles? Beauty is very like fluid, right? We can love something today, and then tomorrow we're like, not sure I want to do that anymore. But if you're not constantly listening, constantly in connection with your consumers and the category and your buyers and all these people, you can miss it. And we don't want to miss it. So
it definitely keeps you on your toes, but it also there's also a layer to that where when leadership is curious, it helps the team to feel more engaged, right? Because you're connecting with them more. So that's great to hear. Now, I was reading your bio and it mentioned that you're an entrepreneurial visionary. And so it kind of rung a bell in my brain. And I'm like, what is that? And what does that look like in corporate? How does that translate over to corporate? So let's discuss that for a second. Break down what an entrepreneurial visionary looks like in your corporate environment and how you utilize your vision to help propel the brand forward.
Sure. I think no matter where a person is, right? Whether you own your own business or you work for a company, you should step in there every day as if it's your own. And so I tell people, and this is no knock to anybody who does manual labor and actually gets in there. I love that stuff sometimes, like gets in there, use their hands, have a craft. But for a lot of us, we're being paid for our minds, right? We're being paid for the experience, the input, all the things that we can bring to the table. And so the way to really tap into your whole self is if you to show up every day as if you own your piece of the pie. And so it changes the way you think, right? So would I spend my money on this if it was my money versus I'm working at a company, it's their money, I don't care, I'm just going to spend it, right? So even financially, you start thinking about things differently. You think about, you know, the decisions you make behind the scenes of what products go out, what needs you're serving, what benefits, how are you differentiated? So all these things tie into this entrepreneurial spirit, and it is needed for you to ask questions. I always tell everyone, I don't care what level you're on, let's ask questions, let's have a dialogue. I want to hear your input, I want to hear your ideas, because that's why we're all here. And so having that entrepreneurial spirit, I think, is so key to the success of any business, or whether you're, again, working for someone or you're actually have your own business yourself.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice for anyone, right? If you walk in and act like you own it and act like it's yours and you take that ownership of it, you can't help but to do a bang up job, right? But because you want it to be yours. And so you kind of think about those decisions a little harder before you make them, instead of saying, hey, this is the company money, whatever they want to do, they want to do it. But you put it in a different perspective. So I love that. Now let's talk about collaboration. How do you use collaboration as a marketing strategy, if you do?
Definitely. Collaboration is, like, I think, a key to success, right? If you were to ask me kind of what are my key strengths, I think one of them is collaboration, because I really feel like there's power in multiple perspectives. There's power in other voices. There's power in different people coming to the table. Now, I think there's a place and time for each, right? So depending on where you are in the life cycle of whatever you're trying to do, sometimes there's more opportunities to bring more people in, and sometimes you need just a smaller group to make the decision and keep things moving forward. So it flexes depending on where you are, but I definitely think it's important to allow everyone to have a voice and feel included in the process, because then again, going back to what I just said, then everyone feels a piece of ownership to the outcome and the success of the brand or the product or the movie or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Everyone feels a part of it. And like, as in human nature, you know, if you break it all the way down to us as human beings and people, we want to feel needed. We want to feel a part of something bigger. People want to feel like they have a purpose. People want to feel like they're living their purpose. And if you continue to try to drive everything on your own and more like a dictatorship, or I've got all the answers, then you're missing out not only on your success and your growth, because the more you can release, the more you can get in to yourself, but also the empowerment of others and helping them reach their potential. So that's been a long road to learn a lot of that from somebody who wants to be involved in everything and control everything. It's been a journey, but I've learned so much over the years. Like, if I let go, this can be so much better than if I try to do this on my own.
Yeah, it frees you up to think more. So absolutely. Very well said. Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned that one of your key strengths was collaboration, right? But as this is Sisters with Superpowers, I would be remiss if I did not ask you, as a Black woman, we come born with superpowers, okay? Right. So with that being said, what would you consider your superpower to be and why?
So I think this has to go back to my childhood, right? You know, and people try to escape it, but that childhood and how you grew up and all those things continue to follow you for the rest of your life. And
Wow.
I come from a big family, parents who were part of ministry, very spiritual, big faith based. So I'd be remiss to say if it was me who had the superpower versus I have powers from a higher power. So, but I think, you know, one thing that I live in stories, and I'll explain that. I think that's a superpower in that I can see a story or create a story, and it helps bring the vision together. So this is a funny story, but even as a kid, I would create a story around a chore, and it would help make the chore go by faster if I pretended in my mind, my story was I was washing the dishes for my family, not for my siblings and my parents and the people that I didn't want to be washing dishes for, but I was in my future doing dishes for my family. Or when I was younger, I played the cello, and so I hated practicing. So I would pretend that I was on a radio show, and I had a whole story around it. That helps now, even in business, when we're thinking about new products we want to develop or the consumer we're reaching out to, creating that narrative around the people you're trying to reach. Where does she shop? What is she watching? What does she love? What are the things that are frustrating to her? And how does she show up at the party? What does she say? Is she the life of the party, or is she on the couch observing? So all those things help drive focus into like, what exactly are you trying to do, and what does success look like? Because you have the whole story around it. So if you were to ask me what's my superpower, I feel like that storytelling, that narrative would be a superpower.
And you know, that's so interesting, because I was going to ask you a question about your creative process for visualizing, but you just answered it. So
yeah, there you
I
go.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. And that really is a key skill to have. A lot of people, they can't tap into it, right? For some reason, it's kind of difficult for them to tap into that creativity, for them to visualize, but that's definitely key to have, especially in leadership. So thank you for sharing that. Now, we should always be in a state of learning, right? So with that in mind, can you share with us 3 books that you would recommend for entrepreneurs and business and marketing professionals to help elevate them to the next level?
Sure. So there are 3 books that I reference a lot. I feel like they all kind of very similar around the way you think. And it's so crazy that your brain is created to go on autopilot. It doesn't like to work that hard. So you have to struggle to push it to do things that it take more energy or more thought, because it's going to automatically go to the easiest answer. So the first book is, I think the author is Adam Grant, but it's called Think Again. And it talks about when you make decisions, take a pause and think again, because your brain is going to say, this happened this last time, that's what's going to happen this next time. So that's the answer. That's not always the answer. And he gives multiple examples of different companies who have relied on this like gut feeling or the history or experiences to make decisions. And that is not the way to go. And so the book is called Think Again, and it's very powerful in like tools and resources you can put in place to help with that process. And then the next book is Who Not How, and it has some other things, but it's by Dan Sullivan. And this book was so eye-opening about what I was talking about earlier, about letting go of some of the things so you can be lifted up, so you can be elevated. And one thing they say about rich versus poor is the power of time. They have more time than people who don't have, because the people who don't have are using all their time to have, and the people that have time. And with that time, they're able to make additional dollars to continue the snowball effect. So this book talks about, it's not about how you get from A to B, but who you know that can help get you from A to B. You don't have to try to figure it out. Find the person that can bridge that gap till you get to that next location. Then you find that next person that gets you to the next level, and it continues on and on and on. And by doing that, you free up more time. And by having more time, guess what? You're able to invest in other things that continue the cycle of success. And so that's, you got to let go of some control and then be able to allow others in to help you get to the next place.
It's so funny. I'm sorry. We were just having this conversation. And so this is just confirmation for me. Keep going. I was just having this conversation with somebody, and
you should read. If you haven't read the book, you should read.
I have not, and I will. I certainly will.
You should read the book, and you'll be surprised how much you're doing that you probably could allow other people to do.
Yeah,
and you can fill that time by doing more for you, or your future, or your career, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then the third book is, it's a funny title, but it's actually not exactly what the book is truly about. It's called Happy, Sexy Millionaire. And he is a millionaire.
Listen, you got me off of that title right now. That's me. Happy, sexy millionaire. That's me.
Yeah. But he does talk about like his body, and he's beautiful in the book. Like, that's not the pieces, that the nuggets that were so powerful in that book to me was also going back to our mind. So all these books are shifting your mindset, that you're so used to being in this same routine, is shifting the way you think. And one thing that came out of that book that I felt like was so powerful is that we're always on this grind, right? Like, he was like homeless. He was like, I'm going to buy this car and this whatever, and I'm going to be a millionaire at some point. And he just made it happen. And he got to that point and he didn't feel happy. He was like, I thought this was I finally got my condo, penthouse suite. I finally got this car, and my company just sold, and I'm getting another company, all this stuff. And it wasn't doing anything for him. And one thing is that he forgot to be grateful. He forgot to think about the path and the journey it took for him to get there. And I tell people that all the time. It's so easy to do that, because I'm like, even sometimes I'm just like, oh, that was great meeting. We did this, we launched here, we made this amount of money by launching this. And I go on Instagram, and somebody has started a business and bought a house in Europe and is on the beach and have the best body and all of this with 18 kids. And you're like, well, I thought I did something great, but look, I mean, clearly I'm not doing enough. And then here we are on this rat race again. Oh, I got to do better. Or I got to do this, or they use their 24 hours better than me, or I can't sleep because while I'm sleeping, everybody else is getting ahead of me. Oh my gosh, we just continue. And we just continue to do that. And this book teaches you, no. You just take a moment, like, think about the journey. Let's create some goals. Let's celebrate those goals. Don't compare yourself. Don't try to be like the next person. Find your niche, and leverage your niche, because it's differentiated than everybody else. So anyway, I talked a long time, but those three books, I think, first and foremost, for any entrepreneur or viewer that's trying to grow their career or think about their purpose or shift their mindset, these books have been helpful to me.
So I do Audible. So I'm going to listen if they're available on Audible.
They are.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to get those and listen to all three, because you were so passionate about it. I felt it. I was getting chills, especially that second book. It's definitely confirmation for me. So that's going to be the one that I start with. And then I'm going to go to Happy, Sexy Millionaire, and then Think Again.
Okay.
So, thank you so much for sharing those. That was great. So I want to move into the practical side of things right now, so that we can help people, right? And so you don't get to your level in any corporation without helping a multitude of people, right?
Right.
And so with that, I'm going to start with, what are 3 indispensable skills that you need to be successful in any industry, especially if you want to make it to the C-suite?
3 indispensable skills. Let me see. Let me, you can edit this, right? I'm going to close this because I feel like you keep getting these alerts, and I meant to do this before.
Oh, we don't hear them. We can't hear them.
Oh, you can't hear them? They're okay, good. It's been going off this whole time, and I'm like, okay. So 3 skills. I think the first one, you mentioned this earlier, Portia, is the importance of learning, right? I look at, and I say this all the time, but I look at every season, every job, whatever it is, excuse me, as a course, as a class. And so once you stop learning, or once you feel like you've aced the class, or once you feel like I got this, or you're not being uncomfortable, you're not being pushed, you're not sitting on the edge of your chair, you're not feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not so sure about this, then it's time to move on. Because it's, and people ask, how can you be with Cantu for so long? Aren't you bored? Aren't you tired of being at the, I mean, how many times can you talk about hair care? I've been in hair care longer than I've been at Cantu. And the answer is, my class isn't over yet. I'm still learning, because things keep changing. And I'm still on the edge of my chair every day. Like, okay, what's happening today?
Yeah.
So when that point gets here, and it's like, okay, we're good. I'm not uncomfortable. We got this down. We're rolling. Then it's time to figure out, okay, what's that next class? So I feel like the key to be successful is that piece. I think another piece is always the power of you and your purpose, and your uniqueness. I think it's so easy for people to shift into kind of what they see as successful, or shift into what they feel like is acceptable, versus stepping into their whole self, regardless of like what people may think. Like, if you like a certain dress, or you like your hair a certain way, there are certain industries that will be like, oh, we wear this or that. But like, we're in an age now where people want you, all of you, celebrate all of you. And I think, let's think about who you are, and finding out who you are, what's your strengths, what's your vibe, what's your style. And it can be fluid, it can continue to change. And I think that's one key thing, because it's those people that stand out. It's those people who move up. It's those people that recruiters are looking for, because they have made a name for themselves. You know who they are, you know what they stand for. They're not wishy-washy. So yeah, I say that to myself too, because it's easy, especially the higher you go up, the easier it is to kind of shift into what they want you to be. Because you finally made it to the table. But I keep encouraging you, no matter where you are in your journey, still be you, and stay true to the things that are your core values. And I'll get off this, but one quote someone said to me is, know what you'll be flexible about, but be inflexible about the things that you're inflexible about. So know what you'll adapt, and you'll switch, and you'll shift. You got to do that. But also know what you're going to not flex and be inflexible about, and lay that down, write that down, stay true to that. Because I tell you, your people will try to pull you off your path all the time.
That's great advice. Yeah.
And then the last thing, and those are the 2 I always go to, but I think the last thing, and this comes off of I have a friend, she's been living abroad for the last 11 years. I got to see her last night for the first time since before COVID. And something she said is so powerful, is that I feel like in America, I'm not sure I want to come back, because I feel as Americans, we just don't know how to live. And it's because right now she lives in Spain, she's lived all over, but And that's the thing that I think the advice to have is to actually live in that moment, be intentional about that moment. Don't let just, everybody says multitask and blah, 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 and do all these things and all that, but you miss out on all the little pieces and details of that moment if you're scrolling on your Instagram at the time you're supposed to be playing with your kids, or you're at work, but you're actually doing something else in this meeting all the time. You're not really listening to this person, and you're not present. So that would be my third thing is live. Like, yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, you gotta live.
I love that she had the courage, because to me that takes courage to pack up and go live abroad wherever she wants to live. So I'm gonna need, we don't have to talk off camera, because I'm gonna need her Instagram handle so I can follow her. So I can live vicariously.
It does take, and you have to be really willing to lose some luxuries at the same time, because not all the world has the same luxuries we do here in America. But so yeah, that comes off of our discussion we had just yesterday.
I love it. I love it. We are running out of time, and I had some more questions for you, but we're going to skip to the 2022 Girls Leading Our World Global Cohort. Let's talk about the staggering statistic right quick. Only 1 in 5 C-suite leaders are women, and only 1 in 25 is a woman of color. Talk about how this cohort will help to elevate the participants.
Yeah, so just a little bit about the program. We launched it this week, open applications. We're partnering with this phenomenal nonprofit organization. They go by We Nations, but it's called Women Empowering Nations. And they have a network of women around the world. And we narrowed it down to key countries that Cantu has a presence in, as well as a following, and it's different areas in Africa. It's US, it's the UK, United Kingdom, it's France, and who am I? I think I covered everybody. And so we'll be taking 50 young ladies around the world. And I'm telling you, even just the prep meetings, we have agency partners in these respective countries. We have people on the ground from the brand in certain countries, and just even doing the Zoom calls with everybody. I was so amped and empowered by just that. So I can only imagine what this is going to do for not just the girls involved, but all of us. And they are kind of going through a boot camp coaching sessions to where they're going to talk about the inside and the outside. They're going to talk about identity, trauma, all these things that have been hand-selected coaches to coach them through these different things around themselves. And then once they get through that, then they're going to go to the outside, resume, branding yourself, all of these things to help better them in their career and in their future endeavors. So all of this is happening from March until May, with the finale of the program in June, where it's a huge summit where thousands of women have come together before, and we'll recognize them in the completion. And then the next phase is picking 10 out of the 50 to have an internship. And then we end the program all together in Africa. Yes, in person, hopefully in November, where those 10 women will present live in front of executives, their final project. They'll go through a photo shoot for new headshots, dressing, like all these things to really get them ready. So when they hit 2023, they've got all the tools, they've gone through the baggage of that they may have, and they're ready to take on the world. So I'm just excited. If you can't tell.
It sounds like it's going to be an exciting time. How do people apply, and where can they find more information?
Yes, so go to wenations.org. The application is right there on the website. All the information about who qualifies and more about the program is right there.
Well, Demetria, it has been an absolute pleasure sitting here
Oh,
speaking with
ditto,
you
ditto.
today. Yeah, I learned so much and got to know you, and I'm following you too. Okay, so we're gonna chat online. So I'm
Yes,
following you too. But
yes.
speaking of following, tell our viewers where they can find more information about Cantu and the great things that you guys are doing in the community.
Yeah, so you can follow us at Cantu Beauty. We have multiple handles depending on where you are around the world. We're at cantubeauty.com as well. If you want to reach out about this program or about what we're doing in the background for our community, we're happy to share more detail with more time. So yes.
I love it. I am your host, Portia Monique, and this has been another episode of Sisters with Superpowers for Rolling Out. And we were speaking with DametriaKinsley, the global vice president of marketing at Cantu Beauty. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Absolutely.